another Spike Chats. Today we have Miss Nika Nurse with us from Best Dressed Plate. Nika is a founder and curator. They explore cuisine, Caribbean cuisine. You will find articles, videos. She goes to festivals, and she even curates her own experiences through Caribbean tradition, where she will get the chefs. She's going to create the experience. She's going to ensure that the processes are smooth so you can get the experience that she's trying to give, feel the emotions that she's trying for you to experience during your time with her. I'm so happy we have Nika. She is very creative and she's someone who walks the talk. So I know we'll get a lot of insights from her. She'll bring a lot of value to the community. Remember that Spike is here to take care of your customers so you can take care of your business and experience your wildest dreams, right? To that end, we have people like Nika in our space so you can be exposed to different thoughts, different aspects of the customer experience and how it might be impacting your business and decisions you may need to take. So let's go right into Nika. Hey, Nika, I am so happy to have you on the Spike Chat. It's been long overdue. Long overdue. I had to get my vibrant colors for you because you're vibrant. So everyone, this is Nika. Tell us about yourself, Nika.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nika Nurse, and I'm the founder and curator of Best Dressed Plate, which is a platform that I created to celebrate Caribbean cuisine, everything from chefs, restaurants, food entrepreneurs, I like to call them, who create who create different foods, that are Caribbean inspired, anything from sauces to seasoning. I mentioned chefs, food content creators, everything under the umbrella of Caribbean cuisine we cover, but the staple is taking Caribbean food from the streets to the seats.
Ooh, I can tell you, if you follow Nika's page or go on her website, you're gonna get hungry. Food always looks so good, and it's she gives you history, and it's so like it's nice to go and see all that, especially if you're from the Caribbean. It's like, oh, I'm from the Caribbean, but I didn't know all of this about the food and where it comes from. It really is a pleasant journey. I take the journey every now and again, visit the website, check it out. So with all that background, I thought Nika would be excellent for us because she definitely has lots of insights, seeing the food industry from so many different angles and across, different Caribbean cuisines, different people. So I wanted to know from you, Nika, on your entrepreneurial journey with Best Dressed Plate, what has the customer experience, what role has it played for you on your journey?
It's so interesting that customer service, people don't realize how important customer service is when it comes to a business, especially from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and then especially in hospitality, right? Especially in food. When it comes to the Caribbean, however, we are just nurtured in hospitality and service. My mother, her generation, who came across the United States, a lot of them came and worked in some form of hospitality, whether it be in nursing homes, caregivers, housekeeping. So those things are embedded in us. We are taught through action, as first generation Caribbean people, it's
Yeah.
more so action. So we visually see how our parents work in a space of service when it's done when they don't even recognize it, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, things have definitely changed from what it was back in the day to now. People are more intentional about the dollars that they're spending. They want experiences. They want to be respected if they're spending their money. And sometimes I don't necessarily agree with how they go about, if they're not happy with the experience. But from a Caribbean standpoint, we're known for hospitality. People go to the Caribbean for our hospitality, right? One love.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is Irie, right?
Yes.
But then the flip side of that is the ongoing jokes when you walk into a Jamaican restaurant
Yes.
and when I have that, you know?
Yes, it's all over the internet, and it's like the ruder they are, the better the food is.
Exactly, right? And it's like, no, that's not always the case.
Mhm.
And the main thing that attract people to our culture is our food and our music. And just as our music has matured, not necessarily to what I like, but the food has matured, and we have first generation Caribbean Americans, we have Caribbean people who go the route of going to school, learning the techniques. They come back home, they're working in hospitality, working in some of these restaurants, but they're really not able to use their skills that they've learned in the technical aspect and then what they grew up eating. Let's take those two things and let's create Caribbean tradition, which is, these chefs that are super talented, that are able to use their learned techniques, their skilled techniques, and then apply it to our traditional dishes. And the flavor is out of the world. And it's just something like everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense. I love
Yes.
it. And it tastes good.
Yes, you're right, because I keep seeing that more and more, and they will call it what elevated Caribbean cuisine or something like that. But I like yours, Caribbean tradition.
Yeah, elevated is, it's almost
Yeah.
as if, so what were we before? I don't.
Right? Right. So I agree with you there. I wanted us to talk a little bit more about, what you were saying before, where we are so known for our hospitality and great service, but it's like we do it for guests. We don't necessarily do it for each other. And that works out when it comes on to the hotels because, yeah, you're catering to foreigners usually. But our restaurants, the cook shops are, they're not really cook shops here, but small businesses here, you come for the food, but you might leave because of the experience. And whereas it will be true for, Caribbean nationals who are kind of used to it, or people who are a little bit exposed to the Caribbean way, they're like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. You get the food and you go. But what do you think about the ability to really expand and grow to a larger market? How is that negative experience playing into that? Are we limiting ourselves based on what we're giving?
I mean, I think we can say that we're limited ourselves, but also it's just the nostalgia of it all. It's like you said, the ruder they are, the better the food tastes, right?
Yeah.
And for the cook shops or the mom and pops, we have to recognize that it is a mom and pop. They don't necessarily have the corporate acumen that a customer may have. They may be accustomed, they may work in customer service, so their expectations are a little bit higher when they're quote unquote spending their money. But I like to kind of say there's a balance, like, you have to, there's a way about saying, you know what, I didn't really care for the service without being so negative. They have these reviews and things like that, because you have to really think that some of these mom and pops are ran by the old school people, and they don't really care for some of our little anecdotes. They're like, they still look at us like we're children, and unfortunately, I just don't see it changing as much with the ones that we know are like the great restaurants from back in the day. Don't hurt up your head trying to make these people make changes and adjustments with service. I think it's with the newer ones that are opening, the younger generation that are opening these spaces. They are recognizing the value and the importance of being a little bit more hospitable when people are coming into your establishment, whether it be a mom and pop or a sit down restaurant. So it's kind of like, you're going to have to like weed out and just wait for those to kind of like
Close.
get passed down. Yeah, either close or they're
Yeah.
passed down to their children.
Yeah, you are right, because yes, it's hard to get older people to kind of switch up what they do. But I think as newer people, and as you're saying, they have some brand or some reputation behind them in terms of their food. So people have grown accustomed to it, and they're like, oh, I just like the food and whatever. But as times change and people's expectations change, they won't be able to ride on that forever. So as you're rightly saying, as ownership changes, the newer people are going to have to pay attention to the customer experience, because that is what the market is now demanding. And that's one of the things that Spike is paying attention to, especially when it comes down to small businesses, because you said something that's so true. Like, as a small business owner, you don't necessarily have all the corporate acumen and know all these things that big corporate is doing to really retain their customers or even attract customers based on their customer experience. But we want to dispel the myth that you can't do it just because you're a small business. You can do it. It's just that we have to have tools that fit you. We're not going to give you something grand that's beyond your reach, something that actually fits your scale and what you have to do. So that's where Spike comes in. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's something that as we go along as a younger generation, we definitely have to think about, because I think a lot of us have big dreams. We don't see ourselves as just this one small store. And even if it's one store, you want it to be the best store it can be. So we want to compete on all the levels with everyone else, because just like you show on your platforms, we have something big. We have something that people want. We just have to know how to package it right and let people come and experience it for themselves. So I think we're on the same page there.
Yes, absolutely. As you mentioned, I think with what you're doing with Spike and really focusing on service, I think the mindset needs to change for entrepreneurs and business owners who are in the service industry. The same effort that they put in to create a website, the same effort that they put in to hire their staff, service, strategic planning is very, very instrumental to the success of your business. And it comes at a cost, but don't be afraid of that cost. There's like this assumption that it's going to cost thousands of dollars when you hire a consultant that's going to build your service platform and then use that to train your staff. Because as I said earlier in the beginning, in the mom and pop, it's, they don't focus on that. It's, your hand cook, you know to cook good. All right, come in the kitchen.
Take the
Let me
order,
show you how to
that's
use the
it. Those
computer to
steps.
sign. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like they just throw you to the wolves with nothing else. And it's like, no, people are equipped with this little thing here,
Mm-hmm.
and it can make or break you.
That's true. And too, like, I think a lot of people take for granted that just because you say, oh, we want to offer good service, everyone in your establishment understands what that means. No, for everyone, that means something different. So after you say that, what comes next? Like, what are your standards? What are you telling your staff that they have to do? And as you said, I fully agree. There has to be a budget that is allocated to it. It doesn't mean it's going to break the bank, but you have staff turnover, things change in your business, and you want to ensure that all your staff is on the same page. Everyone knows what they're doing, they know when to do it, why they're doing it, how they're going to do it, so you can offer consistency. You don't want to be up one day and down the next. And another thing that I know business owners face is, your brand is yours, you built it and it's near to you, and you're like, nobody's going to do it like me. Granted, there will always be a difference between the owner and the employee, just because it's your brainchild. But we can't have the expectation that they're going to show up like us when they don't even know what the expectation is. It's just something that's in our mind, but we have not communicated it in an actionable way. So taking the time to create those standards, train them on it, give them basic training about how are you going to maintain your balance when you have difficult customers, because you touched on something that I think people kind of shy away from when you were saying that customers sometimes outlandish, I would say, in terms of their expectations or what they write on their reviews. And I'll be the first to say that that is true. It is true. Some
Mhm.
people are really, out of the way and you can't really cater to them. But one thing I normally use as encouragement to business owners is that, it's customer experience is a spectator sport. So people are always watching, and not because somebody wrote something, it automatically means that everyone watching is going to agree with them.
Mhm.
You have
Mhm.
some power too. How are you going to respond to that? And what is the reputation that you have outside of that? Are people going to see it as, oh, this is an anomaly? Look at the response. They're trying to be, they're trying to fix the situation. So you still have some power in it, and the whole business is not going to fall apart because one person
One person.
went out
Mhm.
of the way. Your job is to make sure that you have consistently good service. So if you have one thing that is out of the way, people won't be like, they'll be able to look past that. So
Right.
that's one
Right.
thing I always try to encourage business owners. The customers are not always right.
Oh, they're
People
not.
might think that's weird for me to say in my position, but they're not always right. But you have to just think about it. What about this interaction can be beneficial for me? Is it going to
Mm.
be beneficial for me to say you're not right and tear you
To
down,
go back and
tear you
forth.
down?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that because we're gonna
Yeah.
play to our best, to the business owner's best interest. So
Yes.
something you have to
Yes.
point out too.
There's a restaurant in Jamaica that had, I think it may have been 2 years ago, and a young lady gave them a very, very bad
And
review.
they did a video.
Yes.
I saw it. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yes, you see, and it was in a very professional way.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes,
And
yes,
and they had people rallying behind them like, no,
yes,
no, no, because
yes,
they had built a reputation of solid, good service. Obviously,
yes,
because in the video they're like, we stayed later, we did this, we did that. And
exactly.
other people were like, no, that's not how they are.
Exactly. And you know what I really loved about that video too? They were so supportive of their staff. And I think
Yes.
that's one thing we have to do. You have to support your staff. Let them know you have their back. You give them the tools so that they can be successful. You're not setting them up for failure. And I think in them doing that video, you could see that, they were prepared, their staff was prepared, and it really turned out in their favor. But I loved it. I loved it. I hope I can find it. I can put a clip somewhere in here. That was
Right?
awesome. I think the restaurant was, I don't want to say the wrong name, but if I find it,
Yeah.
I'll put it in. That was
Was it
awesome.
Chinese? Was it Chinese? I can't remember, but
I don't think, I don't know. I just know it was
don't
in
remember.
Kingston. It's a restaurant
Yes,
in Kingston.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to get into your best dress plate business a little bit.
Hmm.
Just in terms of when you go and you try food and you see these restaurants and the chefs, I wanted to hear from you, what role does the customer experience play in how you regard your experience? Are you able to just limit it to the food, or does it impact how you feel about everything?
So, you know, the thing about being Caribbean, it's everything is very instinctual. And I remember this one of the people who writes on Best Dressed Plate, Stephanie, she did a video talking about how sometimes, we like to get the instructional videos showing us how to make the food, but it's very instinctual. It's like a dash of this, a dash of that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's for me, it's not until you just actually asked me that I realized that how I was creating these experiences, it was inherently done based off of the emotions I want evoked from my guests.
So you were doing
That
it
is
purposely.
number one. And I didn't even recognize it until you literally just asked me. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, because I know growing up what it was like being raised by in a Caribbean household, having friends who are also raised in a Caribbean household. And, our time together was very limited because, you can't spend a night by such and such house. And, you know, but when you get older, those things are precious. And that was the driving force behind the experiences that I created, especially in Caribbean tradition. It was tapping into those familial spaces and experiences and dressing it up a little bit, but still having those notes of, you know, being back home, looking at that break front, having the couch with the plastics, you understand? Not being able
Yeah.
to go in the living room, right? So taking those things and then creating a dining experience, finding chefs that I feel have the qualities, the skills, as well as the social component to be able to talk at length about their life in food, and how they created the dish for this dinner, which is basically we work together, create this menu of traditional food that we're accustomed to growing up, but the chefs using their skill, technique, learning technique of, the high end cooking, and then implementing that into these dishes. So I had one chef who made a ravioli, but it was a jerk ravioli.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Right? Exactly, with mushroom. So on top of that, it was Chef Renee. She's bringing in the plant base, so it's for everyone. She's bringing in mushroom. Growing up, you know, your grandmother be like, nobody touch that. That's a fungus. That's not for
Yes,
eat. You understand what I'm saying?
that's not for eating.
That's not for eating. And now it's like, yes, you can eat mushrooms. But growing up, that was not something that we would eat. Chef Scott Lee, he came from Jamaica. He did caviar. I'm allergic to seafood, so that was never something that I knew that I would ever eat. And just mentally eating eggs, fish eggs, it's like, why would I do that? Right. And being Caribbean, we're like everything must cook. Like, me don't
Yes,
want nothing
yes.
raw. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like he recognizes that we still have that stigmatism behind us. So how about I give you the best of both worlds, where you can say that you tasted caviar, but it's made from kale. Really?
Oh, wow.
Well,
That's definitely
it's
creative.
very creative. Exactly. And the same expression that you have is what the guests have when they hear. And then the chefs are so colorful when they're talking about the dish, because one, it's their profession, and two, it's their history, it's their culture. And they're like, this is what it is. And it's met with such excitement, and the people feel it
Mm-hmm.
and they leave full. I always say they leave with their heart and belly full. Like, they're like, oh my God, I never knew?
Yeah, that's
So it's,
excellent.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you're making sure that you're hitting on all the touch points to make the experience great, because I'm sure it's not just the experience, which a lot goes into, even though it's like in you based on your
Mm-hmm.
background, but then I'm sure you take a lot of care in terms of how you plan it and execute it so that people are like, then there's no confusion, and that's a part of their experience too. So I want to go to Caribbean traditions. All of you need to go. The food is gonna be great and the
Oh,
experience is
yeah.
gonna be great. So follow Nika so you know when the next one is, and don't let it miss you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier when we were talking about, the older establishments, and it kind of just accepts some things. But in your journey now, if you have to make a choice between going to one of the establishments that doesn't necessarily give you the service that you want, but going to one that offers the experience and the food that you want, how do you make that decision now? Or
It really is based off of where my head is at.
okay.
Honestly, like if I'm for food, like I am just like, I want something good to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about your attitude. I come in to get my food and get out
Yeah.
because I'm hungry and I don't want to do a guessing game. I want to be fulfilled, right?
Mhm.
But if I'm in a mood where I just want to be around you know, a nice looking space and seeing great people and getting the opportunity to connect and talk. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to pick the space that has like the ambiance 100%, you
Yeah,
know? But if it's like a quick kill and I know and I want good food,
yeah,
then I'll chop it up. You understand what I'm
yeah.
saying? And I'll
I
go
mean,
in there and I
I
give it.
understand. When I was
Yeah.
living in Brooklyn, a lot of different Caribbean restaurants are there. And I guess, it's the same price range. You're not really gonna sit down and eat. But in those settings for me, I just want to feel not disrespected. And so the experience I'm looking for there, treat me well, serve me the food quickly, or let me go about my business. So just like you're saying, my expectations are different based on the level of the business I'm going to. But if I'm just wanting to get some food quickly, I'm going to the place where you're not gonna talk to me rude and you're not gonna take forever. So for me in that context, the wait time is don't let me wait long. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people don't realize that that's a part of the customer experience too. Even if you're not selling a vibe, but you want your process to be quick and easy. So we're in and we're out. So to me, at least that is the very, very bare minimum. So if
Mhm.
I'm going to a small business, you need to just provide that. And the one that is providing that quick service and let me go my way, that's the one I'm gonna that's the one I'm gonna go to.
I listen, I hit the quick service. Hmm.
But I don't get it. Even what you were talking about earlier, we're always out of something.
Yeah.
We don't have that, we don't have that. And I kind of think it's because we have not started using the tools that are available.
Tools.
Yeah, and we need to use it because at the end of the day, you are kind of hurting your own pockets. Because if you are just simply doing some calculations, check your register. Check what
Yep.
bought, what sold, at what time, what are your peak hours, what people buying the most, on which day, at what time of day. It helps you out. You have no guessing games, or at least fewer guessing games, and everybody is happier. Happy people, happy pockets. Happier
Hello.
happier pockets.
It's true. It's true. But you know, you have to get in the psyche of some of these business owners' establishment, right? For the
Mhm.
longest while, they only accepted cash because there was this one little leprechaun who years ago said, nobody pay the money online because then you're gonna pay a lot of taxes. So you control it, just pay cash, and you could tell them how much you make. COVID come and hit, and everybody catch their tail. Why? Because they
Mhm.
don't have the proper documentation to support their business, to show is their business viable financially so they can get these loans and get this paperwork.
It's true.
They don't. So then, all right. I need this POS, whatever, POS. All right. Give me the POS.
Mhm.
I guarantee you go into these spaces and you open up the POS. They use it for point and click. They don't do the inventory. And
Yeah.
when you sit down and you explain to them, you do realize that if you put your recipes in the POS, including the inventory that you bring in, every time that you have a purchase, it's going to actually deduct from your inventory and give you the
That's
alert
missed.
that you may need some more rice. You
Yes.
may need some more flour. You
Hmm.
understand? It's like, but you have to take the
Yeah,
time
you're so right. There's a lot
and learn
of
it.
fear around using things that are ultimately helpful. Take some of the
That's going
load
to
off
build
of
your accountability.
yourself, and it would help too. You can delegate some things to other people on your team so you're not just there stressed out. And it gives you reports that you can use to make better decisions and make your money better and all of these things. So it's like, yes, we want the experience to be great and people to feel good, but a part of feeling good is making sure that your processes that you're using are making sense for you and your team and therefore the customer. So, I always start with get your process together. Once the process is together, we can try to refine some, niceties, but the process being together is the very basic component.
But some people like to fester in the clutter,
Mm-hmm.
because then when I drop the ball, I'm able to use this as a reason because I'm so overworked. I'm doing this all and I can't, the
Yes.
minute that you set tools and processes in place, now the spotlight is on you when you screw
Mm-hmm.
up because you have the tools. What's the excuse now?
Exactly. You're so right. So it's like, do you actually want to run with this thing? Or are you going to use the impediments that you are creating as a crutch for why you can't elevate to where you can be, where you need to be, where you should be? Come on.
That's what it is. It starts from, Lauryn Hill, how you gonna win when you ain't right within? It
Yes. Oh
starts
my gosh,
from
I love that.
within.
Yes, but to some extent, I kind of get it. Like in a little bit when we're working with like especially if you're a solopreneur, so you're not too big yet, and you really to go through the process of looking at the customer experience and your processes and refine everything, it's a bit challenging because you are going to find negative things. You're gonna find it. So you have to like brace yourself. Don't use it and beat yourself up. Just realize you are doing something good for your
Now,
business ultimately. You're taking the steps now. And we have to face it to fix it. Face it to fix it. And we're like, it's
perfect.
like we're here with you through it. It's not punishment. It's not what the condemnation. It's okay. We've
Yes.
identified this. What are we gonna do to make it better? So I guess a lot of reframing in the mind to you were saying that before, reframing it to not feel like something is wrong with you, something is right with you. You're taking a good step. And
Yes.
there are stages in your business. I think for all of us, we're going to continue growing as the circumstances change, business change. You have to look at new things. You have to, grow with your business, grow with your business. So,
But that goes back to our upbringing, honestly. Nobody wants to be reprimanded. We knew what it felt like when we were reprimanded by our parents. Oh, you can't do that. Yeah, idiot. You understand what I'm saying?
yes, and I think
So
that's the inside
that's,
language that's happening.
yes,
Regardless of what somebody's saying to you, it's like
yes.
that's still in there. That
I
happens to
messed
me.
up.
That happens to
Yes,
me.
yes. And you don't want it. And you internally, you messed up, but you don't want to bring it to the forefront out of how you felt when you were exposed.
Mm-hmm.
So you do everything in your power to cover that up,
Yes. Yes.
but you're not, but it doesn't work. You realize, you don't want to face it. And it's the same thing with, like, personal relationships, right?
Yep.
That certain things, right? And
Yes.
it's like,
Mm.
say he tell me that, but if I agree, he's never going to let it down.
Yes.
She's never going to let it down. She's going to harp on it. And that also goes to us too, right? Like if me as a
Mm-hmm.
customer, I'm like, well, you really should start to responding to these reviews, because if you respond, then people they're instinctively going to feel like you really do care about how we experience your
Yeah.
space
Yeah.
and you're making the strides to do better. But if I respond, it's like an admission to, and then it's like, then it's going to be an ongoing thing. And it's like, no, like,
Yes.
don't think
Yes.
that
You're
way.
so right. And then it's sometimes I've seen it show up in two ways. So just like you're saying in the response, it's either just like you're saying, oh, am I admitting, or two, it's very defensive. That does
Yes.
not work. Remember, it's a spectator sport. So people are watching, people are seeing who are not engaging in the conversation, but it's affecting their decision whether or not to help you, because that has happened to me. I'm like, I'm going to go to this place. I always click to the negative reviews because I want to see how bad it can really get. Can I tolerate it?
Yes.
And for
Yes.
me, it's like, okay, something bad happened. How did they respond to it? It depends on how you respond to it, whether or not I'm going to trust you. Because for me, and I think, or when I read the data too, people are not expecting that nothing is ever gonna go wrong ever. We all know, this is life, things happen. But you want to know that you are working or you are engaged in a business that if something goes wrong, they're gonna be there. They're not just
Right,
gonna leave you hanging. So
right.
there is that. And then I've seen it in another sense too. Like, say we're going through, looking at what's going on in the business, identifying the touch points, and what do we need to change? And it's like, you need to change something, but you're so afraid of admitting or accepting that you did something wrong. You defend everything. So then you don't get to the other side because you're not willing to just let go. It's
Sure.
not a personal attack. We just have to separate our business from our personal and work on doing that over and over. Because I'm sure nobody is deliberately doing things to hurt their business. You're not. You just have a lot of attachment right now, or you did the best you could do with the information that you have. But since you have more information, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to let it go. It's okay to say, okay, maybe this is not the best decision right now. Let's
Mhm.
do something else instead of just defending everything. It's not really working to your best interest. So that's something that is an obstacle too.
Of course, of course. It's an obstacle. We just have to get in a mindset that people are not always looking to bash. They're really to the core of it, it's just they want you to do better.
Yes.
That's all, and if you take the mindset of they're just trying to help, and it's not a direct reflection of you per se, it's just what they experience. If you take it on from that aspect, then you will recognize that you will be doing way better for your business. My son went to a private school, and the parents had to volunteer. It
Mhm.
was a requirement. And with our involvement with volunteering, we were able to engage with the teachers, with the staff on things that we felt, could improve and help. And the school was soaring. The students were so
Mhm.
well, of course, because your parents is in school too, so you can't
Yeah.
do anything. Then they changed to a charter school,
Mm.
and everything went downhill because that small element of the connection of the
Mhm.
parent with the teacher, the staff, the administration, that relationship, that back and forth ping pong, where you're able to give direct feedback and then make direct changes based off of the feedback, you see the good in it. And
Yeah.
then you see the complete difference when the parents were no longer involved at the level that we were mandatory
Mhm.
involvement. It
That's
changed
so
like
good. I really
within a
love that
year.
example. Yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
And I'm glad you said it too, because I'm
Hmm.
always saying that you have to change how you look at it. Change how you look at
Yeah.
it. And two, I mean, maybe this one is a little of a stretch for some people, but when most people will not say anything. So the
Yeah.
ones who are saying something are really giving you an opportunity. And depending how you respond to them, you could really turn them into your biggest cheerleaders, because clearly these are people who are willing to talk. They're willing
Yes.
to talk. So how you fix that situation can turn out great for you in the long run, because you're engaging with the talkers now. So it's as you said, it's a mindset thing. You have to change how you look at it. Try to think about it as a positive.
We're very personable. So if you talk, it's like we take it personal. You're
Yeah,
talking about me, and it's like, no, it's not you, it's the establishment. Like,
yeah.
remove yourself from it,
Yeah, yeah.
you
And
know.
taking it a step further too, since you see, we take things personally. A lot of times you will find that, the customer is gonna come and complain, and then the response is, I know me, I know me, I know me, I never do that.
Yes,
But
yes.
also for the non-patois speaker, it wasn't me. I'm not the one to blame. It was my colleague, etc. So It's like, no, customers view you as a company. They're not viewing you. So
Mm,
if one person does something incorrectly, it's the company. The company did
yes.
something wrong. We don't like that. So it really doesn't help the situation to say, oh, it wasn't me. All you need to say
Mm-hmm.
is, I'm sorry about that. Let me see how we can fix it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
it. Try
That's it.
not to take it on personally. We have a course called Emotional Balance. People love that one the most. That's the one that's helping you to keep calm. What are
Yes.
you going to do to keep calm? What are you going to do on the long term to maintain your peace? And what are you going to do in the moment when someone is trying to send you to the roof to take it back down?
It's not a personal attack. It
Mm.
is not a personal attack. And you have to, it's exercises. It is not, it doesn't happen overnight,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we do take it personal because anytime something goes wrong, our engagement when in those spaces of things happening, it's always directly me that I'm answering for it. So
Yeah.
now when you're putting an establishment where there's checks and balances and there's other people, you're still in that space of me. So it's like, what did I do exactly? It wasn't me. It was the cook. They put curry powder
Yeah.
instead of, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we go,
Mm-hmm.
well, let me back up because before I even ask that one, I want to just highlight again that Miss Nika Nurse was nominated for her icon posh. I don't want to say it incorrectly. Hold on, I'm gonna say it right.
Okay.
All right. It is isn't the name Langdor Nika? That's I can't remember. Posh Icon Caribbean Posh Icon Woman Awards. Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes. That was very that one really that was nice. I was definitely honored being on the other side, not being in the Caribbean, because the other women who are nominated are Caribbean based
Mm-hmm.
and they're powerhouses in their own right. And to be nominated in that category with those two women, I just was like,
Wow.
what?
You see, you're having more of an impact than you realize. Keep doing,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you're enjoying it. You can see that you love it. You just seem to come alive. Even when I love when you go to the festivals. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm at the festival. I want to go to all of the festivals. I want to wear all the bright colors and eat the food and listen to the music. People, following Nika is an experience. Okay, you need to follow her. And all the details will be in the description bar below. So Miss Nika was nominated for the Caribbean Posh Icon Woman Award. And we posted it too. So go check it
Yeah.
out and go follow her and see all the great things that she will continue to do. Nika sometimes forgets to post when she is going places or on radio shows. But she'll tell you after and you'll be able to go and check it out, even if it's not live, okay? Oh no boy. So yeah, so one thing before we go, I'd like you to give some advice to our entrepreneurs. So what advice would you offer them as it relates to their customer experience? What do you think they should do, look out for, etc.? The floor is yours.
For an entrepreneur, when it comes to, starting your business and wanting it to flourish, I think the key starts with collaboration. You cannot get there by yourself. Have a core set of people who are skilled in areas that you're not skilled in. You don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. I've seen where when you have a collective group of people supporting you, working with you, you are able to move mountains. You're not alone in this life of entrepreneurship. That's the first key to building a successful business, understanding that you cannot and will not get there by yourself. And if you do try doing it by yourself, you will stress yourself out. Find people who are like-minded individuals. Be supportive of your core set of people who are aspiring to be in the same space as you and help one another genuinely. That is going to be the key to your success. 100% is having the right set of people around you and collaborate with good intentions.
Yes, I completely support that message. It is necessary. It's necessary. You and I both know, and we
Yes.
cannot be experts in everything.
No.
We don't have the capacity and we don't have the time. So
No.
for me too, it has been really key to work with people who are experts in fields that I am not expert in to help
Yes.
me to get where I need to get. So I agree with that. Thank you so much, Nika, for being on our Spike Chat. I'm glad I could get on your busy schedule.
I'm glad I finally came in because Miss Alexanne, you know.
Yes.
You know.
Okay, thanks so much, Nika. Make sure you follow both of us. All the information will be in the description bar below. See you on the next Spike Chat, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.